Hello everyone, my name is Nathan and I'm going to talk to you today about geography, about the world that we live in. And we're going to be learning about Australia because that's where Wally has gone. And we're going to think today about whether things in our world are man-made or whether they're natural, whether they are human or physical. Now then, we need to think about Australia first. Now Australia we know is a very big country, but where is it? Let me show you. Wonderful. So Australia is found in the southern hemisphere of our world. Here is our globe, and Australia is right down here in the southern hemisphere. We've got our globe, our world, floating around in space, and it's split into two parts. We've got the equator that runs around the middle of the earth, and above the equator we call the northern hemisphere, and below the equator we call the southern hemisphere. Now, the UK, let me just show you. Can you see the UK there? The UK is part of Europe, which is in the northern hemisphere. Australia, we'd have to fly all the way across Africa, across these giant oceans, all the way round to Australia here, which is in the southern hemisphere. That's the other side of the world. Some strange things happen because it's the other side of the world. Number one, when it's night time for us and we are sleeping, they are awake. And when we're awake, they're sleeping. The other strange thing is, now at the moment in our country it's very, very cold because it's winter. In Australia at the moment, it's their summer and it's very, very hot. And that's all because we are on one side of the world in the northern hemisphere, they are on the other in the southern hemisphere. Northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. But what can we find out about Australia? Well, let's have a look. So here's our map of Australia. You might know that Canberra is the capital city of Australia. You might have learned about that already. And really big island, the biggest island in the whole world. And an amazing place to go and visit. Something else we might need to think about is how we describe where places are on a map. The top of a map, we always say, is the north, pointing north, which means the bottom of the map is pointing south. And then this way would be east, and this way would be west. In fact, we could show that on our map with some compass points. Draw across like that. This would be north, south, east, and west. Maybe you know we could put things like north, east, sorry for my handwriting, south, east, south, west, and northwest to help us describe where places are. Anyway, yes, we were thinking about Australia. I'm going to tell you about some places in Australia, and I want you to think about, are they natural? Have they always been there? Or are they man-made? Did people build them and put them there? That's something that people who study geography do. They think about whether things are man-made or natural. So, this is a place that you can see here. It's called Alice Springs. Nothing to do with Alice in our school. But Alice Springs here is a town in the middle of the desert. I think there's probably a spring or a river, some water that comes up here, which there isn't much water in the desert, is there? And because there's water, people could live there. And they decided to build a town there. Now, do you think the people built the town, or do you think it was just naturally it grew? Of course, it's man-made. People built the town in the middle of the desert. And it's quite a famous town right in the middle of Australia. It's right here in the middle of Australia, the middle of the desert, called Alice Springs. Right, this is a very interesting place as well. This is actually found off the southwestern coast of Australia, and it's called the 12 Apostles. And they are some stacks of rock that were once upon a time joined onto this cliff here, but the sea has washed the rest of the land away, so they're left just standing on their own. They're called the 12 Apostles. Actually, there's only 7 of them. There used to be 8, but 1 fell down. There's only 7 of them. Now, do you think people put them there, or do you think they Man-made or natural? They're natural, aren't they? This is physical geography because this is something that has just always been there. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, this looks like a very beautiful beach. Not quite like Worthing Beach, I have to say. This is a beach called Whitehaven Beach, which is found on the northeast coast of Australia, up here. Beautiful beach, beautiful blue sea, the forest behind. What do you think? Man-made or natural? Do you think people put it there, man-made, or do you think it's just always been there, natural? You're right, it's natural. Very good. Okay, let's have another look. This is a famous beach. Now, someone in my class tells me they watch a program called Bondi Rescue. I haven't seen it, but apparently it's very exciting. And Bondi Rescue was set on this beach, which is called Bondi Beach. It's near Sydney, down here in the southeast corner of Australia. Very famous beach if you want to go surfing or you want to enjoy some sunshine, do a bit of sunbathing. Human or physical? Man-made or natural? What do you think? It's natural, isn't it? The buildings are all man-made, but the beach itself is natural. Be nice to go there, wouldn't it? Oh, here's a very famous place, right in the middle of Australia, not that far from Alice Springs, and it's called Uluru. Sometimes people call it Ayers Rock. Right in the middle of the country. Very famous. Actually, the people the native Australians who have lived in Australia for thousands and thousands of years, actually think that this is a very special or a sacred or a holy or a magical place. A huge rock sticking out of the ground. It's enormous. Natural or man-made? What do you think? It's natural, of course. People didn't put this there. It's just always been there. An amazing place. Uluru or Ayers Rock. Right in the middle, again, of Australia. Right in the middle of the desert. Oh, this looks like an interesting place as well. This is actually called Parliament House. Parliament House. It's a bit like our Houses of Parliament. Our Big Ben, where all our politicians meet to make decisions. And this is their building in Australia. It's got the flag just at the top there. Do you think it's natural or man-made? It's man-made, of course it is. It's in Canberra, in their capital city. Right down here in the southeast. Oh, here's an interesting place. This place is called Lake Torrens. It's the biggest lake in Australia. It doesn't have much water in it though, which is a bit strange for a lake. It's actually full of salt. Very, very strange. But it's huge. You can see all the way around here how big it is. Sometimes it has water in it, sometimes it doesn't. Do you think it's man-made or natural? It is, of course, natural. It's a natural place down here in the south of Australia. Oh, if there's any sports fans, then you might have seen this place. This is a very famous place called the MCG, or the Melbourne Cricket Ground. There's a match of cricket. It'd be nice to be sitting and watching a match of cricket, I think, at the moment. What do you think? Do you think humans made it? Is it man-made? Or is it natural? Did it just grow out of the ground? Of course, it's man-made, isn't it? Look at those thousands of people sitting around watching the game of cricket. And that was made for them to do that. The Melbourne Cricket Ground down here. Oh, here's an interesting place as well. These are the Blue Mountains just outside Sydney in Australia. This is a valley. Now, a valley is the gap between two hills or mountains. Almost looks like the letter V, doesn't it? Which is for valley. V for valley. It's like a V shape here. I wonder if I can show you with my pen. It's like a V, like that. And that might remind you of that word, valley. This is in the Blue Mountains in Australia. Oops, lost the picture. And the valley is actually called the Megalong Valley. Sounds like that because maybe it's mega long. Actually, it's because the native Australian word for megalong actually means the valley between the cliffs. So we've got two cliffs, very sharp sides on the side of the hills and mountains, and then the valley is the gap between. Lots of trees growing through there. Man-made or natural? It's natural. It's natural. This is something that is just in the earth. People haven't made it. It's just the way it is. Can you see what this is? Don't see this in Australia very often, but this is actually Australia's tallest mountain. Australia's tallest mountain. Something like Mount Kosciuszko. I've probably said that wrong. I'm sorry if I have. This is the tallest mountain in Australia. Actually, it's so tall that it's cold at the top and you get snow. Sometimes the kangaroos go hopping through the snow. Crazy. Kangaroos hopping through snow. Man-made or natural? Mountains, are they man-made or natural? Of course, they are natural. Very good. Right. Oh, and here is another very big feature in Australia. This is called the Murray River. You can see some boats sailing on the river. The biggest, the longest river in Australia. In the south of Australia it is. Beautiful big river, and it is of course a natural river. It's just a part of the world. People haven't put it there, they haven't dug it up there. This is just a natural river down here in South Australia. Oh, maybe you've seen this building, a very famous building. One of the most famous buildings in Australia, maybe one of the most famous buildings in the whole world. Do you know what it's called? It's called the Sydney Opera House. You can go there to watch performances of singers or actors or comedians, and they do shows and plays and concerts there. An amazing place to go and visit. The shapes are amazing. I think they were based on the design of a tennis ball that had been cut up because people in Australia do like their sport. I think that's what it was. It's about 50, 60 years old, and it's an amazing place to go and visit in Sydney. But is it man-made or natural? Of course it's man-made, isn't it? People made that. An amazing place to visit down here in Sydney. Whoa, these are called the pinnacles, and they are found in the desert in the southwest of Australia, and they're just sticking up out of the ground. Can you see the sand here in the desert? And then the rocks just stick up. Very, very strange. Did people put them there? Is it man-made or is it natural? It's natural, and you can find it down in the southwest of Australia. Oh, here's another place. It's very interesting. Can you see what it is? It's actually a prison. It's called Port Arthur Prison. It's in Hobart, which is in Tasmania, which is part of Australia. Actually, this was a prison about 200 years ago, and they took lots of people there who were breaking the rules, and they locked them up, and it was known to be a really terrible prison. They didn't treat people very well. It's now a museum that you can go and visit. Do you think it's man-made, this building, or is it natural? It's man-made, isn't it? A man-made place just down here in Tasmania. Whoa, that is beautiful. Wouldn't you like to see something like this? This is part of the Great Barrier Reef, which is found on the northeast coast of Australia. It's such a big thing, the Great Barrier Reef. You can actually see it from space. 1,400 kilometres long, I think, something like that. It's huge, absolutely huge. It's actually alive. It's made of coral, which is alive. And then all of these animals and plants live and move around it. And it's beautiful. One of the really sad things is we're actually destroying the Great Barrier Reef because of pollution, because of climate change and global warming, because of the rubbish that we throw into the sea. We're actually destroying this beautiful place, and the animals and the plants are dying. And it's natural, isn't it? People didn't put this here. This is all part of our amazing world that we live in. The Great Barrier Reef. What else can we find in Australia? Oh, this is a very famous bridge. It's called the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and it joins North and South Sydney. You can see the Opera House in the distance there. And the bridge goes from one side across to the other. You can go across on a train, you can walk across, you can go across by car. What do you think? Is it natural or man-made? Of course it's man-made. People built that bridge a long time ago. You can see the Australian flag there just on the top, and some boats sailing in and around the harbour. Beautiful, just around here in Sydney. Oh, here. This looks green and it's got blue sea all around it. What do we call that? We call it an island. That's right, an island. And this is the island of Tasmania. Maybe you've heard of the Tasmanian devil, an animal that lives on here. There's a cartoon of the Tasmanian devil as well. Natural or man-made? Of course it's natural, isn't it? The island is a natural geographical feature. Brilliant. Well, we've learned today about the difference between human and physical geography, about natural and man-made things in our world. So have a look around you. If you're going for a walk, if you're going out for your daily exercise, you could go and have a look at some things that are around you. Some of them are natural, some of them are man-made. Maybe you could find out some more about these things in Australia. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.